What is up, Rogue Nation? It has been quite some time since we posted a video here on the channel, but I had a pretty epic Star Wars day this past weekend, so I figured we had to talk about it. I attended FanExpo in Philadelphia, the first time I've gone to any type of con in legit 10 years. The last time I went to any con was at the same convention center in Philadelphia in June of 2014. I think FanExpo is Wizard World, just rebranded, but it was still Wizard World then. I didn't meet anybody that year. I just went with my dad and my sister and experienced the con, but it is literally been 10 years since I went to any type of con. It was long overdue. And the main reason I went there was, of course, of the celebrity attractions, if you will. There's only a handful of names in Star Wars that I really care to meet, and there's still a couple left, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not a huge meet and greet guy. I really need to have some kind of connection with the characters that these actors or voice actors played for me to really want to spend the money to meet them, especially because a lot of those interactions can be quick, especially the main one that we're going to talk about. But some of the people who I really wanted to meet were going to be at FanExpo, so I had to do it, and especially because it was on Star Wars Day, May the 4th, and meeting some of these guys, I mean, you really can't get better than that to experience Star Wars Day. I did see some really cool Star Wars cosplay there as well. I didn't take a lot of videos because I will be honest, I spent the majority of my day standing in lines, honestly only for about 3 hours for the first thing we're going to talk about, and then unintentionally like another 3 hours for the last thing, which wasn't supposed to be like that, but I spent like 6 hours probably in line throughout Saturday, and I spent a couple maybe an hour or so walking around the con, but you know, it's a Saturday of a con, it's Sardine City in there, and I'll be honest, there really wasn't much that I was like looking for. Like, I really wasn't stopping and looking at a bunch of Funko Pops because there's really nothing outside of a select few Prequels and Clone Wars ones that I had my eye on. Don't get me wrong, I stopped at a couple of booths, but I really didn't do too much walking around. It was really just the lines and getting these meet and greets done. But let me tell you, it was absolutely worth it. First thing I'm going to show here, I have this 11x17 poster. Now, let me actually preference, since I was actually going in to meet Hayden Christensen, which we will talk about near the end of this video, but a couple of the voice actors from the Clone Wars was going to be there, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to meet all of them in one day. That's obviously going to be a hefty price, but maybe I'll meet somebody. I don't know. So I basically got into the con on Saturday, walked directly to the back with no intentions of getting in any line. I just wanted to scope out where the Hayden photo ops were going to be later in the day. But then I turned around and all the tables were set up for a lot of the voice actors, not just Star Wars, but a ton of them, and then all lined up in a row. D. Bradley Baker, I believe James Arnold Taylor, then Matt Lantern, then Ashley Eckstein at the end, and I was like, this is really a I don't want to say once in a lifetime opportunity, but like, when are they all going to be right here in Philadelphia, 30 minutes away from me, just lined up like this? So I was like, all right, I still didn't know if I was going to meet anybody or meet everybody at once, but I was like, I got to meet somebody. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get in line for D. Bradley Baker, the voice of Captain Rex and all the clones, so I can at least say I meant somebody of these Clone Wars actors. And as you were about to see, I ended up meeting all of them, which I will talk about. But here is the 11x17 poster I got. I got D. Bradley Baker's first. As you can see, he signed D. Baker and then Rex and the clones, and I got this poster with it. You can obviously just choose like a 8x10 or a poster or whatever they had just sitting at the table. So I got this, and then right when I got the poster, I got out of line after I met D. Bradley Baker, you know, walked up to the side, and I was like, I mean, I already have this poster. I feel like it'd be irresponsible for me to not get all four of them to sign this poster when I have it, and they're all right here. So that's exactly what I did. Very impromptu decision, but I don't regret a single choice. And was it a hefty price? Sure, but like, again, not something I plan on doing anytime soon again. I'm sure I might end up at a convention where all four of them are there. Maybe I'll do a photo op down the line, but getting something signed by all four of the top voice actors from Clone Wars, I mean, like, that's not something that's gonna come around all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm really just trying to excuse it here for spending like 300. Listen, it was worth it. But I meant D. Bradley Baker first, and after, you know, the formal greeting, if you will, I just kind of told him one of my favorite Clone Wars arcs is the Amber arc with Captain Rex versus Pong Krell. And as he signed it, he kind of just looked at me with like a dastardly, like, oh, Pong Krell look. And he was like, you know, that was a really heartbreaking arc. I was like, true, but Captain Rex has a good moment. And then he like perked up and was like, that is true. But it's still heartbreaking. I was like, fair enough. And then, you know, it was real quick. I didn't have too much to say, honestly, to all these people, because I just don't have a lot to say. Like, I'm not the guy who's like, oh my God, you're my childhood heroes and this, that, and the other, because only one of the 5 people I meant I could really say that towards. But listen, it was awesome. So I met D. Bradley Baker, and then got in line for Matt Lantern, who, of course, as you can see, is the voice of Anakin Skywalker. Very cool. And the first thing I said to him, I was like, dude, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but it's pretty crazy just looking directly at you and literally hearing the Anakin voice. He was like, yeah, I know, I do hear that a lot. It is because, like, I don't really change my voice up when I do Anakin. Like, it's basically my voice. And I was like, that's absolutely crazy. And then I forget exactly what I said to him that, like, prompted this. It was something along the line. I know I said, like, I wasn't going up to all these people and saying, like, oh, you're my childhood heroes or anything like that. But I was like, listen, I'm meeting you and Hayden today, and Anakin's my favorite, you know, Star Wars character. He has been since I was a kid. And then I was like, I gotta stop saying that to people because I'm gonna start making the people that I meet feel old. And then he laughed about it. He was like, dude, trust me. People come up to me and they're like, oh, I've been watching you since I was like 5. And then he's like, oh man, I'm really feeling old. And then I was like, yeah. And then, you know, another gray hair pops out and he's like, exactly. And that was basically it. But I met Matt Lantern, had a cool interaction with him, and then went right over to James Arnold Taylor. So let me get this in the screen a little bit more without the glare. Obi-Wan Kenobi. At this point, and before I met Ashley Eckstein, James Arnold Taylor was the coolest of the three. Everybody was super cool. Everybody was super nice. But James Arnold Taylor, super just, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Gave me a fist pump. And then, I don't even remember where he started, but he just, like, at some point switched into the Obi-Wan voice, and I was like, oh my god, like, he's just doing it right in front of me. And then he was like, I tried to sign, he switched into the Obi-Wan voice. I was like, I tried to sign a little over Matt here, so I had the high ground, whatever he said. And then was like, oh, may the fourth be with you, blah, blah, blah. And then I was just mind blown, honestly. Like, you know, sometimes it's the interaction's going so good, you just kind of lose train of thought. You're like, I can't believe he just switched into the Obi-Wan voice like that. And of course, the first thing he said was, hello there, in the Obi-Wan voice. And I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. And I honestly knocked all three of them out within, like, an hour and a half. Then I went to wait for Ashley Eckstein, which she was there, then left to go do, I think, photo ops or a panel, something like that, which I knew she was already gonna, which she was still gone is what I'm trying to say, by the time I hopped in her line, which I had no problem with. I was like, she's gonna come back, I have no problem waiting. I'm here to meet people, so, like, I don't care about waiting. So I probably waited legit maybe close to an hour and a half for Ashley Eckstein, because she probably came back about a half hour into me waiting for that line. Then it slowed down for like 20 minutes because I think her card machine was broken. And then on top of that, Ashley, and credit to her, she really does take a lot of time with her, with the people she's meeting. And don't get me wrong, I could have spent more time with all three of these guys, but I just don't really have a lot to say outside of, you know, the basics and maybe a one-line or this is my favorite arc or my favorite thing you did or something like that. But Ashley Eckstein definitely takes a ton of time with the people that she is meeting. I really appreciate that, especially because she does charge a good $125 for that autograph. Not complaining. I willingly handed over, you know, my bank card, so, you know, clearly I spent the money. But yeah, she was super nice, and her autograph looks absolutely awesome. Everybody else signed in blue. Obviously, she didn't sign in blue because it would have been blue on blue and it wouldn't have shown up. So she was like, the gold looks really good. Should I do the gold? I was like, go ahead. So she did the gold autograph, which absolutely looks sick. And this is legit, like, one of my favorite things I've ever owned. This picture with all four of their signatures, I mean, it looks beautiful. And same thing like with James Arnold Taylor, super nice, asked me my name, asked me if the first time we ever met, and then we got talking for a second, and I said one of my favorite, well, actually, I mentioned that, like, I was meeting all four of you guys Clone Wars voice actors today, and I was like, I meant D. Bradley, at first, and I talked about how the Umber arc was one of my favorite arcs, and he was like, oh, but that's kind of a heartbreaking one. And then I told her, and this was true, I was kind of thinking about it in line, I was like, you know, one of my favorite Ahsoka arcs is the Mortis arc, but, you know, Ahsoka's pretty down bad during that, so I was like, maybe I shouldn't say that, and she was like, no, you're fine, that is a great arc, and she was like, she couldn't think of the word, she was like, it's a very I was like, underrated? She was like, yes, underrated arc. Then she was saying, it's kind of getting a little bit more notoriety because of they're tying some of the live action stuff in. I was like, very true. It has been in, you know, a lot of people's conversations or whatever I said over the last year. And then she talked about, or I talked about, how like a lot of people are kind of hopping on that, you know, Mortis bandwagon and talking about it a little bit. I think she said something along the lines, she didn't say bandwagon, but something along those lines, and I jumped in and I was like, I know, where were all you people back in the day, you know, when Clone Wars was on, you know, Cartoon Network, and we were just laughing about that for about, I don't know, the minute and a half, 2-minute conversation we honestly had. It was super cool. I'm not going to keep rambling, but Ashley Eckstein, and everybody, just super cool to me. Ashley takes a ton of time with her fans that she's meeting. It was just super cool. I know I, you know, rambled a little bit with all four of them, but that's the point of this video. Oh, and last thing, Ashley also did put on the Ahsoka voice at the end and pointed to the bottom of this poster where it says loyalty means everything, and she said that in the Ahsoka voice, and then said something else that was like, and you're stuck with me, Sky Guy, and I was like, do you want to go hang out for a little bit? Because that was amazing. I didn't say that, but that was the end of that whole interaction. And after like 3 hours of standing in line and getting my autograph from everybody, I was pretty whooped, so I just went and hung out and walked around for a little bit. And then we get to the Hayden Christensen photo op. The reason I went to FanExpo, the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker himself, my favorite Star Wars character of all time, the face of the generation that I grew up on with Star Wars. You guys know, prequels and Clone Wars, obviously my favorite stuff. I'm literally wearing a new Anakin and Obi-Wan shirt I got off Amazon last week because I just thought it looked cool. So the way they were doing it, and I'm assuming they do this at a million other conventions, but like I said, it's been a decade since I went to any convention. All the photo ops were in like groups, so I checked my email that morning. I was in like group 3, which was like 4:50 p.m. I believe the time was. And I looked on the board and they were only separated by like 10 minutes, but I assume it's to kind of just help filter people in and out of the area. So I went and just hung out in the area for a little bit, probably like honestly a half hour, until somebody came over and just got a bunch of people and put them in the Hayden Christensen line. The group didn't really matter. He was like, anybody for Hayden? And I was just like, yeah. Because obviously there was lines for other people. Gianna Carano was there. Chevy Chase was there. And I was like, yo, that would be sick. I'm not going to lie. But back to the conversation. So I get in the Hayden Christensen line. Again, it's around 4:50, let's say. And I was already expecting, like, I'm not going to meet him at 4:50, obviously. But I was like, maybe by like 5:30, I'll be getting in there and taking my picture. Hayden Christensen, obviously being the top guy, the draw to this convention, where there was a lot of people. Rosario Dawson was there. Natasha, I forget her last name, but the lady who plays Sabine was there. The guy who plays Ezra was there. The girl who plays Morgan. Like, there was a ton of Star Wars people at this convention. The Clone Wars actors. But Hayden, obviously, your top guy. I was supposed to meet this guy, let's just say 4:50, since that's when my group was. But again, I know it wasn't going to be at 4:50. This dude finally got done signing autographs at 7 p.m. The line was so backed up for Hayden, this dude did not even get done signing his autographs until 7 p.m. His photo ops were supposed to start at 4:30. The convention closed at 7 o'clock. The place cleared out besides the people in line to meet Hayden. And I will say, all the people working for FanExpo and working the convention, they could have like been grumpy. They could have been giving nobody any answers. They were super nice. They were super keeping everybody upbeat. Hey, you guys, don't worry. You guys are going to be Hayden. It's just running a little behind, blah, blah, blah. So like, I'll be honest. I was the last guy who's complaining. Was I tired? Yeah, but I was like, well, I'm going to meet Hayden. The vibes are up. You really can't go wrong here. And I gotta say, like, shout out to Tony from Star Wars Sith. He said it best. When you lock eyes with Hayden Christensen, nothing else matters. It's literally incredible. You just walk in through a curtain and you're like, yo, Anakin Skywalker's right there. What? Like, I know it sounds weird, but like, it's just so cool, man. Especially because of how much it means. Like, again, I said it earlier, but like, this guy's the face of the era I grew up on. There you freaking go. Noah Nation, Rogue Nation with Anakin Skywalker. I know you guys are just looking at this. There's a bunch of glares. Go over to my Instagram at Noah Nation Vlog so you can see it clearly. But I had the Attack of the Clones Anakin shirt on. There he is, the man himself. And I gotta be honest, for a 15-second, 12, so whatever it was, photo op that it was, in and out, boom, how nice to meet you. He really does. Like, I know it's easier said than done, but like, hey, how you doing? Looking you in the eyes, like really making it seem like he wants to be there and making sure you're getting your 15 seconds worth. And that's freaking awesome. Like, obviously, I'm sure it would have been fast anyway if everything was still on time, but they were rushing people, dude. And honestly, I'm not even complaining because I got this picture. He was super nice. And I'll do it again. I'll freaking do it again. And like I said earlier, man, like there's not too many people who I really want to meet, but he was one of those guys. And Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, obviously on that list as well. I'd love to meet Sam Witwer, who I know goes to a decent amount of cons. So I'm hoping I can knock those two out within maybe the next year. I do plan on going down to Orlando for MegaCon next year. So whether Ewan McGregor is, I don't know if he's going to be there again, but I know he was there this past year. So if he's there by himself, I'll meet him. If they're doing dual photo ops with him and Anakin, well, then I'll definitely do that and get another photo with Hayden and then Obi-Wan. We'll see what's going to happen next February, but FanExpo this past weekend, I couldn't have asked for a better time. I mean, legit, some like dreams come true. And what better day to do it than Star Wars Day? I meant the chosen one on May the 4th. I mean, that's icing off the cake. Nonetheless, like I stated at the top of this video, I know it's been a little bit since we uploaded a video here on the Rogue Nation channel, but I do want to let you guys know we will be live streaming this Thursday with some Star Wars Fortnite. We've technically been playing Fortnite every Thursday for like the last almost 2 months now. I haven't streamed it a couple of weeks. However, Lainey Byers has streamed over on her channel, so you guys can go check out all the replays over there. But me, her, JT Lovecraft, and sometimes Grayson from Mortis FM have all been playing Fortnite on Thursdays, and it's been a ton of fun. So I'm going to start streaming again this Thursday, 8 p.m. So stay tuned for that here on the channel. And be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and go follow me over on Instagram at NoahNationVlogs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. More content to come, and remember, this is where the fun begins.
This is Rogue 2. This is Rogue 2. Commander Skywalker, do you copy? This is Rogue 2.